Well, hello, my name is Michael Sandvik. I direct the Handbell choir here at Great Lakes Adventist Academy. With me is Johannes Durkin. He's a ringer here, and we are going to demonstrate overtone ringing technique on handbells. All right, so this is a technique that is new to the handbell world, and to the best of my knowledge, we developed here at Great Lakes Adventist Academy, and we want to share with you so you can play around and do it with your bell choirs, and also to let people know some of the neat things that are happening musically here at this institution. Each handbell rings a fundamental pitch, also called the first partial, and it also sounds very strongly an octave and a fifth higher pitch, and that's known as the third partial, also called a harmonic. And this ringing is going to it's going to sound the fundamental basically on the outer edge of the bell, and then the rest of the bell is vibrating that third partial. Johannes, can you demonstrate on the F3? Just ring it, and so we hear the fundamental pitch. And go ahead and silence the fundamental, and you can hear the third partial harmonic. Go ahead and ring it with just the third partial harmonic as much as possible. So this technique is aiming to isolate, like Johannes just demonstrated, isolate that higher third partial harmonic. Very similar to when a person plays guitar and plays a harmonic by lightly touching the string, or plays a harmonic on a violin or cello or any other stringed instrument. When you're ringing the harmonic, then you want to silence that fundamental as much as possible. So here on an F3, that fundamental is ringing fairly wide off the rim, versus by the time we get up here to this F5, it's basically, the fundamental is pretty much sounding only on the rim of the bell. And so you're going to put your hand on the bell a little bit differently, depending on how high or how low the bell is, to sound just that harmonic. All right, so notice when he's going to ring this F3, he's going to bring his hand down a little ways, as well as covering the rim to some extent, and that'll allow the vibrations of the fundamental pitch to be silenced as much as possible and sound the harmonic. Go ahead and do it. Very good. Let's ring the A3. That was F3. Let's ring the A3. And you'll notice his hand won't be quite as low. Good. And the C4, as he keeps going progressively up the scale, it's going to get... He's going to be touching less and less of the lower part and getting more and more on the rim. Let's go all the way up to the... Let's keep going all the way up. Okay. And ideally, we're going to silence that fundamental. By the time you get up here to the C5, it's almost just lightly touching the top of the rim, like this. And I'm just lightly touching it to sound it. And just for demonstrating, it's very difficult to do the F5, but it's doable. You want to try it?
Yeah, sure. Kind of hear it there.
So you can hear the fundamental a little bit, but with practice, the ringers will learn to silence that fundamental more and more all the time, and you get that beautiful harmonic, that sound. Another way that some of the ringers have found works well for them on the higher bells, like when you're getting in the upper fours and into the fives, is that it's rather than using their hand, they use a mallet to lightly touch the rim while they ring. So we'll let Johannes demonstrate this. And They can play around. You can play around with the where you place the mallet. If you put it closer toward the where the strike happens, you may silence it a little bit more, and then and also you can move the mallet a little bit to get different parts of the mallet on there. For some ringers, they find that a little easier. Others prefer their hand. I definitely prefer using my hand, but they find what works best for them. We can ring multiples at the same time. So if we ring this F3 and this A3, we're going to be what's actually going to sound is a C5 and an E5. And so we ring them together, and we should hear those harmonic pitches. And you notice the tone is just different. Here's the C5 sound. When you hear that pitch off the F5 as a harmonic, it's just a different tone. So why would you use this technique? It's to get just different tone colors. All right, let's ring them together and create an interval. Other thing I want to note is most of these bells are Schulmerich handbells. The Schulmerich handbells ring that third partial, an octave and a fifth higher, beautifully. However, they're not as precisely made as the Malmark handbells. The Malmark handbells have a much pure overtone, and we're going to demonstrate. So we have an F sharp. We have one Malmark handbell. It's an F sharp 3, and let's just ring them in succession. So why don't you start with the F3 Schulmerich, and we'll compare the sounds of the harmonics that come off them.
It's the F sharp here.
Just a much purer sound. And let's do it one more time just for effect, and go ahead and hold it a little while.
Right. It's the F sharp.
And you'll notice that the Malmark handbell really has a much purer tone, and you get a broader, fuller sound from the harmonic. If you have those bells, it's a really neat advantage to this technique. But it does work with Schulmerich. It's a little earthier, and it's fun. What I find is that our ringers take about a half hour to really master ringing the technique, half hour of practice for each of them. And I usually space it out over several rehearsals. So they just do a little bit at a time and practice the technique. And usually within about 30 minutes of actual practice time, they can do the technique reasonably well, although they'll continue to improve in their consistency at getting that fundamental silenced as much as possible and then sounding the harmonic. So I hope you are able to incorporate this into your repertoire. If you're a handbell composer, consider writing it. I'll give you a demonstration, show you what it looks like on the page. So here is the score, and see how it's notated in the score. We have the harmonics up here. This is the actual sounding harmonic pitch, and you see the harmonic sign with the circle there in the score, and that is the sounding pitch. I put it in brackets because we have a chord sounding. So this is a C major chord in harmonics, but the fundamental pitch is notated in stemless black notes down here, and that shows which bell is being rung, while the sound note that's actually being sounded is notated up here. And so if you're a composer and you're interested in writing that, very similar to writing harmonic notation on a violin, and then except that we're also notating the fundamental pitch, because being a new technique, it may be confusing for bell choirs unless they see, okay, what fundamental bell am I actually picking up to get that harmonic to sound. I invite you to check out the first piece using this technique that I know of. It's a piece we wrote it for them in the spring, titled Song of Jubilation, and incorporates this technique in a few different places. So hope you've enjoyed this demonstration and have fun trialing it out. Thank you.